In making this award today, we celebrate the role of an award-winning composer and remind ourselves about how important they are to us. After all, it would be a very unusual day that passes without any music at all. In fact, it would be a rather barren world without music. So, for a moment, back of the hall, pause and think, where would you be without composers? Yet who are they? Today I have one for you. Let me tell you about Bob Christianson's extensive TV and film career. He has composed for 33 TV series and films to date. On American TV, his tunes have graced over 2,000 national commercials and won many Clio awards. If your name is Robert De Niro, Leonardo DiCaprio, or Meryl Streep, you will know the name Bob Christianson because you starred in a movie he composed for. The TV series you will be more familiar with, and maybe I'm talking to the front more than the back now, is Sex and the City. He composed for 27 episodes. He wrote the theme promo music for the 1997 Winter Olympics and was awarded an Emmy for Best Musical Direction for the opening harmony of the National Hockey League. That's really significant, even more so if you're in America. In fact, he has written over 25 award-winning sports themes. Of course, he doesn't just compose for screen, as many of you here today will know. His Concert Meets Musicals, A Christmas Carol the Concert, was nominated for a 2014 Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Music and Lyrics. He also composed Too Hot to Handle, a reinterpretation of Handel's Messiah through R&B, jazz and gospel. It was played live at the Lincoln Center, Manhattan, every holiday season for nearly 10 years. But Bob isn't just a composer. As an undergraduate, he studied the organ as first instrument and was training to teach music. At university, he played in a rock band and wrote a musical. When he graduated, he didn't become a music teacher. According to Bob, he'd have been a terrible teacher. I'm not sure I agree. Instead, he worked as a backing keyboardist for singers in cabaret clubs. Connections made in the clubs of New York led to work on musicals, and so to the role of musical director for shows such as Godspell and The Magic Show. As a synth player, in recording studios, he worked with Aretha Franklin, Chaka Khan, Diana Ross, so many others. It was the quality of his work and the contacts he made that opened the doors to his career as a composer. So these are the achievements we're celebrating today. But you're sitting there, you at the back, at the beginning of this journey, and if you're like me, you're thinking, well, how? Because Bob has transferred the deep and wide waters of the performing arts. That's where you're about to go. Now, he gave me some advice. Firstly, there's the really challenging bit. The thing that most of us struggle with, that rare virtue. Always be on time. Then there's the stuff that fills the days. Keep learning and practicing your art. Build a range of skills. To quote Bob, have confidence in your abilities, but don't overrate yourself. Then take the work. Even if it isn't the direction you had first planned, take the opportunity to prove your value and build connections. However, there's also the thing that Bob didn't say, but we know because we had the great pleasure of working with him to take the Christmas Carol on tour in 2022. Be a joy to work with. I know everyone involved in the tour would agree Bob was truly a valued part of that team. Now, I think this translates as be on time, keep learning, be flexible, be brave, and vitally be the person people want to work with. Today, we are not just celebrating the talented musician, musical director, composer, but also a lovely person that was always on time. Chair of Governors, I present to you Bob Christianson for the Honorary Doctorate of Music, honoris causa.
Donna was a really tough act to follow. First, I would like to thank all the people that made this possible. I know that I will forget some people, and I will probably mangle some other people's last names. So I will ask you to please forgive me in advance. I'd like to thank Tim Folks from the Chair of Governors, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Mark Mason, Vice Chancellor, Professor Jane Longmore, the Director of the Conservatoire, Ben Hall, Donald A. Lafferty, Claire Nowell, and the incredible team that put together my piece, A Christmas Carol, the concert, for 2 Decembers in a row. James Leline, Simon Grocott, and Chris Keene. Every time I come back to the UK, I feel like I'm home, and I want to tell you why receiving this honor is so special to me. When I first visited Chichester University, and I know I'm pronouncing that name like an American, it was as the composer of A Christmas Carol, the concert. I've always been a little wary of colleges performing my music, only because I tend to write very difficult stuff that even I can't play. And I didn't know what to expect. When I saw the last rehearsal of the show, I wasn't impressed. I was totally blown away. I was totally blown away by the performers' skills, energy, and most of all, their passion. And I told everyone at the end of the second show that it was the best performance of the piece I had ever seen, and I really meant it. It wasn't that previous performances of the show were bad, far from it. But you guys did something that none of the other orchestras did. You put your heart and soul into performing the piece, and at the end of the day, to me, that's what makes a piece soar. Graduates, you guys are just starting out on your great adventure, and there's certainly no one way to get to where you want to go. I also know that the music business has changed drastically from when I started. But the truth is, it's always changing drastically. Here's some advice that I could give you that might be of some help in your journey. I found these few ideas are the same in every branch of music and theater business that I've experienced. Number 1, never, 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 ever be late to a rehearsal, a session, or a show. Arrive on time and prepared to listen. If you remember one thing I say, remember that. I say with absolutely no false modesty that I owe a big part of my career to the fact that I was always early, prepared, and ready to play on the downbeat. It really helps being a Virgo. I found that people in the business can forgive a wrong note here or there, but they're not so forgiving when you are late to their gig. I was never the best musician in the room, or the best composer, or the best conductor, far from it. But I was lucky enough to learn while doing recording gigs from some of the most incredible musicians, composers, and conductors in New York. During the heyday of recording in New York City, I would often have major players from the New York Philharmonic playing at a 9 a.m. session that I was conducting the piece I wrote the following night, the previous night. And I had 2 hours sleep, by the way, and that's normal. And if one of them gave me a suggestion on how to make my composition better, my answer was always, yes, thank you very much. I learned everything I know from them. Number 2, never give up your dream. The second part of that is, don't expect your dream to come right away or in the way you expect it to. Don't surrender your individuality. Lean into your quirks. Your quirks will help you break through the noise. Do not try to fill someone else's idea of who you are. And the third part of that is ride the horse in the direction it's going. If you told me when I first came back to New York after college that I was going to have the career that I've had so far, I would have bet the ranch that you were wrong. My big dream at the time after college was to be the next Billy Joel. And I hope there are a few people in this audience that know who I'm talking about. But even though I never had a hit single in the 80s, I never stopped writing songs. At age 64, I finally got nominated for a Primetime Emmy for the song No Trouble from A Christmas Carol, but we lost the prize to a couple unknown guys. Maybe you've heard of them, Lin-Manuel Miranda and Tom Kitt. If you're going to lose, lose to the good guys. A couple of years later, I won an Emmy for one of my sports themes. Along the way, I conducted and played with SNL Band, conducted a few with composer Gary Anderson called Too Hot to Handle, and she'll be doing it again December 2025. Handle, Sex and the City, hockey. Point being, ride the horse in the direction it's going. You never know which direction it's going. The last part, luck plays a big part in anyone's career, as it did mine. But the trick is to be prepared for whatever when you get that bit of luck. Never stop preparing for that moment. Believe in yourself, and others will eventually believe in you. Thank you all once again for this incredible honor, and I look forward to seeing you graduates succeed in this crazy, crazy business. Thanks, guys.